You don't expect to find something like this so close to a modern city. Terraces that roll down through vineyards, a palace that sits quietly at the top, and beyond that, hundreds of acres of garden. And standing there, it feels overwhelmingly grand, from the symmetry to the sheer scale of it all. Now, I personally found it incredibly impressive, which is what makes this even more surprising, because it actually wasn't designed to impress at all. So why was it actually built? The answer starts with one man, Frederick the Great of Prussia. In the mid-18th century, he ruled one of Europe's rising powers, but he wasn't looking to build another grand royal residence. In fact, he wanted the opposite. So between 1745 and 1747, Frederick built Sanssouci as a private retreat, with its name meaning without worry. Now, this was a place for music, philosophy, and long walks through carefully designed gardens. But he did invite famous thinkers like Voltaire to actually stay there. Now, through this, Sanssouci became less of a symbol of power and more of a personal sanctuary. But this sanctuary actually sits in one of the largest historical garden complexes in Europe at 720 acres. Now, you can actually walk for well over an hour from one of the gardens to the other. So it starts feeling more like a palace, and it starts feeling like, another world. And also scattered throughout the park as well, there are other palaces, pavilions, and ornamental buildings, each reflecting a different architectural style and moment in Parisian history. Just like the famous windmill, which actually stands just above Sanssouci. Now, there is a story that's often told that Frederick once tried to have it removed, only for the miller to actually refuse. According to legend, the miller reminded him that even a king was subject to law. Now, whether or not this is actually true or not, the story did stick as a symbol even here that power had its limits. But if Sanssouci Palace was about escape, this palace was something very different. Built between 1763 and 1769 after the 7 Years' War, this palace wasn't about retreat, it was about survival. Frederick wanted to show that though Prussia had endured, it was still powerful and very wealthy. And unlike Sanssouci, this wasn't a private sanctuary. It was designed to host important royal guests, diplomatic meetings, and lavish celebrations. Built with over 200 rooms, richly decorated interiors, this palace was built to impress the world. And when you actually stand in front of it, it absolutely does. But this palace doesn't stand by itself, as when you're walking around to the rear, the space suddenly opens up into something incredibly symmetrical. You have these two identical buildings that stretch out on either side, connected by this grand stone pillared arch, and this perfectly shapes the palace that's actually behind you. Originally, these buildings supported the ceremonial life of the actual palace via guest accommodation, administration, and infrastructure for large royal gatherings. Today, though, they're part of the University of Potsdam. You have students studying here, and the library operates in these century-old walls. So whilst the architecture actually remains the same, the purpose has completely changed. And that contrast, is one of the most fascinating parts of all. Walking through these terraces and gardens whilst admiring the palaces, it's easy to get lost in the scale of it all. But what stays with me the most is the use of building with attention, bringing vision into reality all these years ago. And yet today, these palaces both coexist with life. You've got students who study in these historical halls, you've got families strolling through the gardens, and the windmill that still stands proudly. It's a reminder that, history isn't really frozen, it evolves, and it can actually still amaze you almost 300 years later.